continuous learning is really, really important as you look at your career and as you look at career growth. I'm going to talk through, I don't have any slides today, but I'm going to talk through some of the things that I see that are so, so, so important about continuous learning. And as we're looking at education and moving shipboard and what they've already done shipboard, a lot of cruise lines with improving crew education and then going shore side. And then also just thinking about really I think it's kind of this black hole pit that we've talked about before about continuously learning and never getting a job because all you're doing is learning. So I think there's some kind of extremes to the equation, but I think that for me, it's really important if you can find this middle ground of ensuring that you are learning in a way that is relevant and that makes you, it gives you a tremendous advantage compared to your peers when you go into the job market. And right now, in today's day and age, there is literally no excuse that you shouldn't be continuously learning. So for me, like first and foremost is with opening ship to shore, and I'll give you guys a ship to shore update a little bit, is that ship to shore, part of what really our mission is looking at where the cruise industry lost talent during COVID, and even where they're sitting today, is that I think they lost talent during COVID, but also they've experienced this massive growth and this massive demand for people vacationing. And so they can't build ships fast enough. They can't build ships cool enough. There is so much competition in the market, but guests are filling the seat, every single seat that they are building. So there's this demand for talent on their side. And then you have all these former crew that have kind of aged out of the system. Is that a lot of former crew who had said, all right, COVID, that was it. I don't really plan on going back. There was thousands and thousands of crew members who went through that. Is that they got used to living at home, they got used to spending time with their kids, and they couldn't fathom going back to ships. And then there was a lot of people that they kind of hit 10 years, 15 years, 20 years on ships that they said, all right, now is the time for me to settle at home. But as they go and they settle at home, they still have this desire to be connected to the industry. And that's where we were born from. And we had a really exciting meeting last week with one of the major cruise lines. And they were just blown away at the concept of what we're doing. And they see so much opportunity for former crew. And I think it's the long game of this is starting the conversation earlier with crew, is that when you're on board a ship, starting that conversation about, okay, what does the future look like for you? How much longer are you going to be on board? If they say, oh, I want to be the captain. All right, then let's talk about the career path to get there. But the taboo subject is like, hey, I only have a year left of this, 5 years of this, because of my needs, because of my kid, because of my mom who's ill and there's nobody to take care of her. So that's a part of the conversation, that's the opportunity to have for them. And I think that they're open to, but they are in such a place that they can't lose their talent right now, that it's hard to fathom having that. But we're really talking about is how do we have that conversation and grow and develop people full circle. And that's where we stepped in, is that we say, okay, if the cruise line isn't going to focus on this group of people, we will. And we're going to look at development, we're going to look at courses, we're going to look at opportunities. And I think that we've shared is that, you know, we have over 600 crew, I think at this point, that are in our pipeline. And that's only with doing organic outreach to crew. And then also using the Starboard contract that we have now, is that working with Starboard. But the potential of the contracts that we're about to sign is that we're going to get a huge access to a ton of crew. But again, the mission in our company is not, you know, we're only going to have so many positions, virtual positions, that we're going to have within the cruise industry. We may eventually expand outside of the cruise industry to virtual work as a whole. Um, but right now we've stayed in this niche that we really, really know. But part of the point of doing these webinars about posting all of our content online is that there are thousands and thousands of crew that need professional development, because you stay in this bubble of a ship. And sure, you can take the Cornell classes, sure, you can take this, but when you're working 70 hours a week, it's really hard to find the time. And then on your vacation, you tend to disconnect. And so right now I'm going, if you're in this season of in-between work that you're trying to figure out what's next, this is your time to work on your skills and develop your skills so that you can have an advantage against everybody else that is coming out there. So right now we have one open position that we're placing, and we have 600 crew. I mean, Christian, you can speak. I don't know how many people we had apply for that one position. It was a lot. It had to be probably at least 50 to 100. Am I wrong?
I would say around the 70 mark. Around
70 individuals that applied for one position. Why? Because it's unique. I get to stay in my home country. I get to work virtually, still within the cruise industry, still within the department that I know and I love. So that's where I'm going to challenge you guys, is that don't sit back and wait for thinking that, oh, somebody's going to eventually see me and place me. No, you have to do the work to develop yourself. So that's why we're talking through this education, this continuous learning, is that really, truly, as we look at learning, it is so, so important. I'm going to give you guys some statistics. And the truth is, I took a course a little while ago, and it was about presenting, and they were saying people's brains, they can see in their brains that when you quote a statistic, their brain starts to light up, because it gives credibility and validity to what you're talking about. So as you guys go into an interview, as you guys go into a conversation with friends, if you're able to quote a statistic, that is game changing for you. So I'm going to give you, and there is no excuse in this world today of AI that you can't go on ChatGPT and get some statistics. So I'm going to give you some really, really important statistics and industry trends about why it's important to be a lifelong learner. So first is your skills become obsolete. So according to the World Economic Forum, that by 2025, so that's in 2 years, it's estimated that 35% of the skills that you have today are going to change. So imagine 35% of what you know today is going to change for what's needed in the job market. So if you're not adapting, if you're not evolving your skill, literally 35% of your talent just went down the toilet. So that's the first one. Next is job market. So the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics says the average person, and I can attest to this, the average person changes jobs 12 times in their career, 12 times. So this really, truly highlights the needs for individuals continually upskill and adapt into new roles. So I was at Royal Caribbean for 13 years. In 13 years, I had 11 different jobs. 11 different jobs. Why? Because it wasn't because I was bad and people kept on kicking me out of departments, you guys. It was because I was actually really good and I was constantly learning. And I'm not here to brag about myself. I'm just here to say is that I was never satisfied with enough. You know, my first job off of ships, I was a cruise staff and an activities manager on ships. And then I went into entertainment and guest activities, and I was casting. It was a casting specialist role. It was a role that didn't exist. So I was hiring everything from riggers, sound techs, light techs, DJs, youth staff, cruise staff. So I'm sitting here on the phone as a former activities manager, cruise staff, interviewing a rigger, you know, who flies the people in the air in the theater, a light tech. I haven't even seen a light board in my life practically. And I'm having to interview these people. But God knows I sat down with every single light person that I could get my hands on, because Google was barely Google at that point when I got off of shift. And I was learning. I was in that role for 9 months before I got promoted into overseeing all of guest activities. Then I was in that role for I don't know how long, and then I saw another role open up working with hotel directors. But every single day that I was showing up to work, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is my future in guest activities? What am I going to do? I'm going to work at a park district. I'm going to work in an entertainment center, in a hotel. What is my future? So I was going, how can I show up to meetings? How can I learn? How can I educate myself so I'm relevant? And somebody saw me, and then that just continued and continued through 11 different jobs. So really, truly, is that the other side of it is that as you make these moves in your career, this is from Pew Research, is that those that have education, so after your high school education, your college, and you're continually looking for more learning opportunities, you earn more money. This is just the truth. So the more certifications, the more education, the more that you're able to apply what you're learning, refer back to your learning, then people give you validity and they give you promotions. And when you get promotions, you get more money. So who is up for getting promotions and getting more money? That's the question. I think every person on the planet, right? And then innovation and technology is that Deloitte, they are a research company. Well, they do consulting and research, but they have a global human capital trends report. And their report says that employees need to update their skills every 2 to 3 years to even stay relevant. And you guys all know those people that you have worked with that they have been the same for 10, 15, 20 years. They're going to stay in the same job. They're not going to move up because they're not challenging what they can do. And then employer expectations. And that a LinkedIn survey found that 94% of employees would stay at a company longer if the company invested in learning and development of them. And this really shows, this is not about, hey, you need to work for a company that does that, but this is actually something that employees are doing, is learning on their own. And then reskilling. Reskilling is so important as automation, artificial intelligence become more and more prevalent. There is a study that shows that about 14% of the global workforce are going to have to switch jobs by 2030. 14%. So that means this means that your job is going to potentially be obsolete. So in the next 7 years, so if you are not continuously learning and adapting and shifting every 2 years, and that was kind of my pattern in my career, I was kind of moving every 2 years generally. And one of the best bosses that I had at my end of my career is she was this brilliant woman. She's the senior vice president of sales for Royal Caribbean, Vicky Freed. She could see my pattern and that I would get bored. So before I would get bored, she would change my job. And I don't know if she did it knowingly or unknowingly, is that she would go, okay, Barbara, we're taking away this department, and we're giving you this department. We're taking away this and we're giving you this. She was constantly doing that to me. So I never had the opportunity to leave her because she was like, I'm keeping this girl on my team. And obviously having twins and life and all that stuff led me into the path where I am today. But it's just this reminder of that move and that continuous learning gives you momentum for improvement. And I'm sure many of you who had long careers, as you look back, you go, man, I wish I would have made these more intentional moves. I wish I would have done this. I wish I wouldn't have stayed there for so long. I wish I would have, because that would have meant more in your pocket money-wise, but it also could have possibly meant stimulation. So now is your opportunity to go, okay, what does the future look like? What am I loving? What am I interested in? So the last point is about remote work, is that during COVID, it opened up this beautiful flower of remote virtual work that was never on the table before. And Upwork, which is a really famous, it's a website that gives a lot of statistics, but it also posts jobs. They reported that they found that 41.8% of the American workforce was working remotely in 2021. So all of a sudden, somebody who had never worked remotely before, even thought that they could, they got exposure to it. So this really opened their mind and challenge them for digital literacy. So you have to be able to manage an online calendar. You had to be able to manage email. You had to be able to manage so many platforms individually on your own. And Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, the one that we're using today. There was a small handful of people that used Zoom pre-pandemic. And now if you don't, my parents can manage Zoom at this point, which that would have been, there was no need for them before, but because my dad's Rotary meetings are on Zoom, he had to learn it. So that COVID really gave us this massive, massive exposure of what virtual work could mean. We wouldn't be having this conversation. This company wouldn't exist if we hadn't had COVID, because cruise lines wouldn't have even fathomed to explore remote work. But now the door is open. You're looking at competition for any job on a global scale. So you have to be the one that has educated yourself the most. You have to be the one that has taken the classes. You have to be the one that has upskilled yourself, so that you're not just a former executive housekeeper. You're not just a former Adventure Ocean manager like Christian was. That you have so much more in your wallet, because you want to make sure that when you're presented against another candidate, you have all these certifications and you have all this education. You didn't just sit on your hands for the last couple years. So let's talk about really the opportunities and where do you go for online skill or development. And Christian, is there anything you want to interrupt on or add to about talking about continuous learning?
Adding on your last thought, I was reading yesterday that remote work has actually become a recruiting tool. It's no longer like a luxury or something that some companies use. After COVID, it was something that it had to happen, and then companies started taking it away, but then they realized that globally that it's become a recruiting tool, and it's something that people wish to do. And then even if it's hybrid, right, maybe some days you go to the office, some days you stay at home, but it has become a recruiting tool more than anything. So I think in the next 7 years, as you mentioned, it will become a lifestyle of working remote, just being able to work regardless of where you are.
And this opens massive opportunities for former crew members, is that because we are shifted towards global employers, is that we can go into any country and hire anyone. And we do it legally. We're not doing any, and if you guys really truly, if you find a company that's hiring you, in this bizarre fashion, it's probably not the right long-term fit for you. You want to look for a company that's going to, allow you to pay taxes, allow you to get any of your retirement benefits, your public health benefits that your country has, because that's going to be long-term for you employment. And one of the Carnival Cruise Lines just announced a couple weeks ago that they're going to be selling their offices in Miami. They're selling their building. They haven't said if they are going to, they have not said if they're going to replace it. But right now, they, I think, are about 4 days a week virtual. And where other cruise lines are only 1 day a week virtual. And it's just different cruise lines are going to take, different companies, period, are going to take different paths in what they, but that opens a world of opportunity for you as a former crew member, because you go, okay, that's a possible company that I can get into. And that's what we target, is that we're going to the heads of these companies and saying, all right, where could a former crew member fit in? And one of the big cruise lines that we're about to sign a contract with is they are not virtual employers, but because of the fact that they can potentially retain their former crew, that's exciting for them, and they're willing to make a compromise in that way, because nobody loses with this story. The cruise line doesn't lose, because they've invested in you as a crew member, and they get to keep you in their pipeline of experience, of training, of all that. And then you as a crew member don't lose, because you are really truly giving back to your family, giving back to your community, giving back to your country, because you're getting employed locally. And your family, not just your immediate family, your children, but anybody else who you may support financially, that has such a massive trickle down effect. And you don't have to get off ships with fear. So let's talk about this idea of learning opportunities. You do not need to go into an in-person university 8 hours a day anymore. You just don't have to. And this is the beauty of COVID. All of a sudden, everybody had to shift. And one of the motivational speakers and educators that we follow is Tony Robbins. And Tony, pre-COVID, would never, ever think about doing a virtual event. He's like, no, I only do in-person events. And he would fill up the American Airlines Arena or whatever it's called, the FTX Arena, with 20, 30,000 people. But then all of a sudden during COVID, he had to go virtual. And then the people that couldn't fly to Miami and go and see one of his events, they were in Israel, they were in China, they were in South Africa, they were in wherever, and they got access to this event virtually. It was on Zoom, it was on the screen, and then they got to invite their friends to their house. So what was one entry into one event, all of a sudden there's 4 tickets. And so it was just this real shift that people were forced to embrace. And online education is one of those things. So I'm going to show you guys on my screen really quick. There are so many platforms for continuous education and skill development. And Wilhelmina, please, let's make sure that we send out in our recap email a link to all of these sites. Is that Coursera is one of the ones that you have heard me talk about before. And let me just really quickly share my screen with you guys. I can't figure out where my screen is at. Hang on. I know I'm logged in somewhere. I think I am, maybe not. Okay. So I'm going to share 2 of the ones that I like the most, but then I'll talk you guys through a lot of the other ones that are out there. Yes, I know my camera. Okay. So Coursera is the first one that I'm going to show you real quick. I'm logged in here into Coursera, and it's just Coursera.org. And I'm not sure if you guys know this or not, but anytime anytime you're going to a website, if it's a .org website, it's a non-for-profit most of the time. So it means it's a company that's not working for a gain. So you kind of know that Coursera is a pretty legitimate education company. You will find once you get into Coursera, there are paid courses that are on there. But one of the things that it will do is when you sign up for Coursera initially, it's going to ask you, you can do kind of a survey. What are you looking for? You can say, I'm looking for my next career move. You'll see your learning goals are here, advance my current career, switch to a different one, explore topics outside of work. So you can go in here and you can earn even a master's degree in engineering from Dartmouth College. That's an Ivy League school. It's a really beautiful, expensive school in the United States. University of Michigan, Master's in Applied Data Science. You have these actual degrees that you can earn here. You can get certificates as well. And they're essentially taking all of these independent entities, universities, corporations, and putting all of their courses into one platform. So you have them in Spanish. So Canva has one, digital marketing that's in Spanish. And then Master Track certificate. So if there is a certificate that you want to get in a specific field, you can find it here. So one of the things that you can go here and you can say what you want, a certificate, career, a specific topic that you want to. I always like to go, okay, I want to see what the free courses are. There's 2,900 free courses on here. And then you can begin to narrow it down by what you want to learn. It could be everything from business analytics. This is from Johns Hopkins University, which is a very reputable university in the US. So no matter where you are in the world, you can have access to education from a North American university. So if you're going to be working with a North American company, and they don't know your University of Cambodia, and that it was the top university of whatever, go and get some certifications from some North American widely recognized groups, and business analytics from elementary to advanced. It will tell you on here how long the difficulty and how long it will take to complete it. Okay. And most of the courses that you will find are working on your own. And you'll also in here, they'll give you how long. So you say, all right, right now in my life, I can only do a course that's less than 2 hours. So it'll narrow it down for you into what you need to know for lessons. And look at, there's 74 pages of courses right here. That's absolutely insane. So you for sure can find some type, and I would just, Coursera has quite a few, but if you have the opportunity to get it from a legitimate university, a free course that you can knock off, then do it. And I would challenge all of you is that I have kind of rules in my life that I don't let myself watch Netflix until I have read a book. I don't let myself watch Netflix until I have listened to some type of education. Or if I'm watching Netflix, I make sure that it is something that's interesting. Like right now, the documentary that I'm obsessed with, it's called The Blue Zones. It's on Netflix, and it's about people who live over 100 years old. And the guy goes to different areas of the world. So if you're going to watch something like that, make sure you're watching things that are interesting and engaging and fact-driven, so that when you're in an interview or you're sitting at a cocktail party or you're networking, that you have interesting stuff coming out of your mouth. And this is the seeds that allow that content within you to grow. So the other one that I'm going to show you right here is Google. Google has a program, it's called Grow.Google. And there's another one, I think it's called Google. I have it in my notes, so I'll show it to you guys as well. This one, they have tons and tons of certificates on Google. They have a really good AI class. It's called machine learning right now. You can say, all right, I'm looking to expand in my career. And the only thing that I have at this page is it takes a little bit to load. There it goes. Okay. So in here, you can say, all right, I want stuff for my career. It's going to say, it's going to give you a ton of different courses that teach you. These are customer related. Work from anywhere, get started with business strategy. This is a very interesting course. Here's the one that I was talking about, the AI machine learning one. Every single human being living right now in 2023 should be taking this course. It is free. There's six sections to it. So this is teaching you about machine learning, AI engineering, machine learning engineering, data scientists, business intelligence. And at a minimum, this is going to give you skills so that you can understand how to utilize AI resources out there. Do not be that person at the cocktail party or the networking event that sounds like your grandfather. That you go, oh, this technology, you know, the young kids. Be the one that says, oh yeah, I took a course with Google about machine learning. Nobody even knows what machine learning is. No one even knows. And they'll go, what is the difference between machine learning and AI? And you're able to explain it. Then you become the smartest person in the room. And all you did was took a course for free on Google. And Google is, AI is changing by the minute. Here's the A to Z of AI. Elements of the beginner, and this is 6 weeks. It comes with a certification. Then it gives you, these are the things that you would do next. Say that you like it, keep going. You may not like it. Worst case scenario, you learn something. So the Coursera and Google are two massive ones that I really, really like, because the content for them, A, is free, and it's stuff that's pretty up to date. So there's a couple other platforms. No, I have 15 platforms that I'm going to send you that you should look at. edX is one that is very similar to Coursera. Udemy is another one that is a lot of technical and personal development, but it's very sales focused. So if you're going to go into a position that's sales related, you should take courses there. LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn has a ton of learning courses. I wouldn't say that they're top on AI or anything like that, but it's going to teach you the basics of LinkedIn. So let's say you're going to go into a recruiter job, or you're going to go into some type of positions that's going to require you to understand LinkedIn. You should make sure that you're using LinkedIn. Khan Academy, that one is for computer programming, math, and science. Coursera for business, they also have a business. Skillshare is one that is on design, photography, and writing. They have a free trial for theirs, but Skillshare, I would keep a very close eye on it because it could become antiquated with AI. You should be doing, if you want to get into anything creative, you should be taking courses on Midjourney. You should be following YouTube channels. You should be looking at because the truth of the matter is AI is changing so fast that the only ones that are really staying on top of it is people who are on YouTube right now. It's too slow for the other institutions. The colleges are eventually going to catch up with it, but not right now. Future Learn, that's university and institutions. MIT, which is a huge technical, one of the best technical schools in the United States. They have a site called OpenCourseWare, and so those are for technical and scientific subjects. But really, truly, technical and scientific subjects, those are the highest paying jobs right now. So if you're in data analytics, if you like anything like that, that's where you should be growing in. Harvard, and Harvard has an amazing free online learning program. So they have a ton of courses. And to be able to put on your resume or put on your CV that you took a course at Harvard, and don't do a 3-hour course. Like, put the time in, cut Netflix, cut socialization out of your life for a week, double down, take the course, and put it onto your LinkedIn. And all of them, all the Harvard ones are pretty much self-paced, they're recorded. And then the Google Digital Garage, the Grow Google, is that a lot of those are in digital marketing, data analytics, AI, and other digital skills. So those are all free. You should not be getting on a train, going to the university in your local town or your local village to go to school. You should not be paying any money for education at this point. And all of this stuff is things that you can just tick through at night. And if you guys haven't read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, that book is, and Wilmina, see if you can Google it and send the link in the comments, is that book, he talks about the habit stacking. So this is the most effective way to grow what you do. So let's say that you already have a habit in your life of making coffee every morning. So every single day you go downstairs and it's a habit that's well established. So let's say that you go and you get your coffee, and what you do is, I like to call it doom scrolling, DOOM. So you doom scroll on your phone and you look at what happened on social media over the last 8 hours that you've been sleeping. You did it before you went to sleep in your bed, you doom scrolled, right? You're just doom scrolling. And then you did it when you had your coffee in the morning, you doom scroll. If you were to take those two things and say, instead of doom scrolling on social media, I'm going to knock off 30 minutes of my online course. And you do 30 minutes at the front, 30 minutes in the back of your day, you're going to get through this content so quick. So habit stack into something that you're already doing. Instead of getting into bed at, let's say you get into bed at 10 o'clock, get into bed at 9:30 and go through your course. And then, the last two ones that I didn't talk about was Code Academy. That one is about coding and programming. And then YouTube. YouTube is this endless abyss of content. I am watching a YouTube video probably on a daily basis, everything from personal development, business to finance to, there's so much content out there. So make sure that you are watching educators, organizations, and you're focusing on what is that area that you see that's a gap for you that you need to learn. And then TED Ed. If you guys see any TED Talks, they have an educational platform. And the benefit of TED Ed is that they have most of their videos are, I think, less than 30 minutes. And so if you decide, I'm going to get rid of my doom scrolling after my coffee in the morning, and I'm going to listen to that. I use my time when I'm putting on my makeup, when I'm blow drying my hair, when I'm doing things that are annoying tasks is I make sure that I have my ear pods in my ear and I'm learning. And then let's talk really about effective learning strategies in terms of time. So as you look through these platforms that we're going to share with you, start narrowing it down to legitimate platforms that have some type of name or clout within the world that you want to find employment in. So Harvard, Google, Dartmouth, any of those good organizations. So you're going to go first and you're going to narrow it down, and then you're going to identify a gap from what you personally would like to learn. If it's LinkedIn, if it's AI, if it's Excel. Do you know how many crew members that I run across that don't know how to work Excel? Excel is a fundamental skill in any corporate job. You have to know it. You have to know how to use it. There's 100 million YouTubers out there that teach Excel. There's so many classes. Take a fundamentals for Excel course. But you might be more ambitious and you might say, okay, I want to learn data analytics. So sign up for a course that's on data analytics. And who cares? Do a 6-hour course and say, oh, I don't like data analytics at all. And pivot into something else. But set clear learning goals for yourself to say that I'm going to spend 30 minutes a day, I'm going to spend 60 minutes a day, whatever it is, doing this task. And one of the gentlemen that I follow, Jesse Itzler, he was just talking about he sets weekly goals versus daily goals. Because, and I thought this was very interesting, is that he said that when he was setting daily goals, is that something can happen in your day and you don't make it to the gym, for example. You go, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And then something happens, your kid gets sick, and then you said, oh, Monday was my gym day. I didn't get, I'm such a failure. Why can't I commit? And then you go down the spiral of why you can't commit to the thing. When he changed to weekly goals, that was really helpful because then he knew, all right, I got until Sunday that I got to go to the gym 3 times. I missed Monday because I was lazy, you know what, and wouldn't get out of bed, but I can make up for it on this other day. So same thing. If you say I'm going to do 30 minutes a day, let's change that to say I'm going to do 3 hours a week, for example. So if you didn't get to your 30 minutes, then on Saturday, you got to hunker down and do 3 hours because you're worth it. So you don't go out to dinner or you don't go play soccer or you don't go do that thing, but you are making an investment in yourself. So figure out what your goal is and figure out when you're going to do it. And then, like I said to you, my massive trick is my net time. And net time, if you guys know in financial terms, your net profits. So you have your gross profit, that's your top line. So let's just say that you've been, we have 24 hours in a day, all right? So you have 24 hours in a day, and then you have 8 hours that you're gonna sleep out of that, so minus 8. So that gives you 16 awake hours. So out of 16 awake hours, you're probably in a given day, you probably have 2 hours worth of net time, right? So this is the time you're doing your makeup, you're blow drying your hair, you're getting dressed, you're making your bed, you're driving somewhere, is looking at all of those teeny tiny places where you have net time and plugging in education into that. And so every time I am in the car, I have my ear pods in and I'm listening to something. Every time I'm sitting in the doctor's office, today's the day I have to take my daughter to the doctor, I'm listening to something. And my little young ones, who are 9 years old, they're not that young anymore, they are watching me. They are watching me doom scroll on social media and fill my brain with crap. Or they're watching me listening to a webinar on finance. I prefer the latter. So you guys have to look at every single time you're waiting in a lobby. I always, I don't have my purse on me, it's in my bedroom, but I always have a hard copy book in my purse, and I always have a podcast that I'm listening to, and I always have a digital book on my phone. So there's no excuse to not be using my net time with productivity. And some people might say that I'm like a little bit extreme, but I don't really care. I think that I'm a very interesting person to talk to. because I'm constantly feeding my brain with content. And all my friends go, where do you have time for that? Where do you have time? You're so busy. Where do you have time? And I'm like, I make the time because I don't waste time. I have the time. We have 16 hours a day. If I can't give an hour to educating myself, then I've got other issues, right? When I'm cooking dinner at night, like when I'm cooking dinner and you're just kind of mindlessly doing that thing, I'll feed my brain with something that is interesting. Other nights I'll listen to music, but if I didn't get it to earlier in the day, if it was a little bit lazy earlier in the day, okay, while I'm cooking, I'm going to listen to this thing. And I'll stop and I'll pause it and I'll write down notes. And it's just this exciting, invigorating moment in my life, and you get addicted to it. And then share your success stories. Is that then this layers on to what can be your social media strategy in your LinkedIn or in any of your social media, is that listen to an interesting, engaging podcast and then record a quick video about it and just say, hey, I listened to this the one that I listened to this week was by Ed Milet, and it was about toxic relationships. It's so interesting, you guys. And he talks about us actually being the people that allow people to stay in our lives that don't serve us. And we tend to blame that person and try and fix that person, and our energy goes into that person when the work is actually to be done with us, that to ask, why do we feel the need to make that person better? That person can fully, wholly has all the tools and resources to become a better person, but why do we feel it our responsibility? And so it was this really thought-provoking conversation that, I talked about it 3 or 4 times since I listened to it two days ago, because I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This gives me something to think about. And it's way better than asking people about the weather. It's way better. It's a way deeper, more authentic relationship. So just think about then how those success stories and those little investments that you're doing in yourself can translate into your real life. And then really, truly for me is that I want to see you guys make a commitment on what do you want to learn? What is that thing that you want to learn that you could see feeding your life? It can be anything from your work-life balance, it can be time management, it can be habit building, it could be data analytics, it could be artificial intelligence. What is that commitment that you want to make to yourself over the next month, 4 weeks, to say, this is the area that I want to develop myself in because I know what this could mean in my future. So I think, and I'm going to even take a little bit of my own medicine and think about what's the thing for me. Christian or Wilhelmina, you guys are welcome to share. Anybody else is welcome to share. For me, go ahead.
Sorry, really quick. Just before you go into the what you're about to mention, everything, because you mentioned that sometimes you think that you're a bit extreme with that, but I think that we're all extreme at something, right? It's just a matter of choosing what you're going to be an extreme at. But the misconception that I feel that there's out there about the learning sites on the website, like what's out there, like what's in it for Harvard or Cornell to put out education for free? Like what, and then the misconception comes in, is it absolutely free? Or is it something that they're like halfway through the course, people are going to be asked to pay? And I feel like out there, like every time I mention it, saying, yeah, but is it really free? Or am I going to have to pay somewhere in the middle? But maybe you can give us a little bit of an insight on that.
All of the Coursera stuff, if it's listed as a free course, it's legitimately free. It's the Coursera because that's a legitimate website. But to your point, you do have to be careful when you start looking up courses, because some of them will go, they'll give you a free introductory one, and then they're like, for $49, get this. And then you click on the $49 and they're like, yeah, but for $79 more, then you get this. Back away fast. Because most of the time that content is available for free on YouTube and on the other platforms. I bought a course the other day that it was about KDP. It's Kindle Digital Publishing. It's an Amazon program. And I think the course was $40, $42. And I was kind of, I was like, well, I want to learn about this. This lady's pretty legitimate because I followed her on social, and the buy-in was low. And I was like, it's worth $42 for me to invest in this course. That's an example of one, because there's so many digital courses that are out there right now. So just beware of the digital course selling stuff that are like entrepreneurs or independent people. Some are legitimate and you could invest in it. And the course was actually not very good. Like it was, and as I went through it, I was like, well, this is silly. I could have done this on my own. But I didn't feel bad because I gave the lady $40. But for me, just be careful the source that it comes from. I think that's the most important thing that you can look at. And the ones that I'm going to send you are legitimate sources. So just make sure that you, and just before you get really committed into something, make sure that you read the fine print on it. And like I said before, is that sometimes some of the courses that are out there by universities, that you will have to pay for them, but only pay for it if it's worthwhile
really
for you.
Okay.
If it's really worth getting the name. And the other thing is that I took some courses at Dartmouth. They have a school that is for minority business owners. So because I'm Hispanic and I'm a female, I'm considered a minority business owner, because there is, I think it's only 4% of women-owned businesses are over $1 million in revenue, something like that. Like this teeny tiny number compared to other businesses that are out there. So organizations like Dartmouth and some of these bigger Ivy League colleges is that they will offer courses for you, but banks will provide the scholarship to take the course. So this course that I did at Dartmouth, it was a $30,000 course, but a bank paid for it for me. So they paid for me to travel there. They paid for the actual course. They paid for my food. They paid, because especially if you're a minority, there are so many organizations that want to push you forward, and to look for those scholarships that could possibly be out there. But good, legit question. And then the other thing is, like, there's HubSpot. HubSpot is like a CRM. It's a client relationship management tool. They have a lot of free. So HubSpot is a platform like Salesforce, HubSpot, Slack, all of those ones. They're a for-profit company, but they will offer free courses because they want companies to pay for their platform. You're not going to be the one paying for the platform. You're looking for somebody to hire you to oversee their platform. So there's a ton of content that's out there. I'm just looking at Coursera, and there's a sales representative for HubSpot. You being able to show up to an interview to somebody that needs HubSpot experience, and you're like, I have this certification, this certification, this certification, this certification, you are at the top of the list compared to anybody else that they're going to have to train. And then they're going to go, oh, but why do you know HubSpot? And you go, oh, well, I know it because, you know, I took this class on my own. And they're like, that's phenomenal. And like, I'm just looking at this HubSpot one. This HubSpot, it's 10 hours a week, this class for 3 months. But the median salary for inbound sales is $60,000 a year. And their statistic here is that there's 728,000 current job openings for this niche.
And I want to add something really quick, Barbara, that it just crossed my mind. And the good thing about us and the niche that we're working with, and the profile that we share as former crew members, is that we already have the social skills. We already have the networking skills that are needed. And now we're like just building up in knowledge, right? There's a very, I have a very close relative in my family that has even graduated with a PhD in USPH from Harvard University in medical school. And we went to high school together. So you can just imagine, since then, she's been just course after course from university after university. And to this day, she's still studying. And she's like a walking brain, a brain with 2 legs. And she's fantastic in research and all that.
But we go out to the store and she just lacks the social skills, and it's a bit awkward sometimes to even see that she can engage into conversations or negotiate or just basic skills that are taught in a mundane job, right? Or in a job that we had as
Yeah.
crew members where you're socializing with people. So I think this adds a lot of value. The fact that we maybe started it from the opposite side, where we built up on that knowledge with networking and being sociable, and now we have to continue building up on the knowledge side of the things, right?
And Christian, literally, well, if you want to give us her email address, we'll send her a copy of this podcast.
Don't tell her what I told you about her.
No, but really, truly, I just had a great conversation with my husband about it. Yesterday, actually, we're driving, and we were talking about how artificial intelligence today, it's millions and millions of data points of information out there, right? So before, you got your job based on how smart you are and your ability to retain that information. Now, your intelligence and your ability to retain data points is irrelevant because there is a machine that can do it for you and better than you. So all of a sudden, the people who will succeed between now and 2030 are the ones who have the emotional intelligence and the soft skills, because you're going to have the machine behind you to give you the data, right? You're going to be able to type in, hey, teach me how to do this in Excel, da 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 da. And the soft skills is the thing that's going to launch you forward, but you have to understand how to use the technology. If you are like your grandma at the cocktail party and you don't get how to prompt ChatGPT, if you don't get how to put the different skills into the system of what you need, the outputs that you need, you're never going to be able to get these two skills to go up. But like the doctor friend, like the whomever, I mean, I can think of 10 people, is that the people that are solely relying on their brain intelligence, the data points, that's who's going to become irrelevant. And the people who are going to float to the top are the people that have the ship stuff, the stuff that we had to deal with. And we were talking about Richard Branson, the CEO of Virgin, and we were talking about what's his name? Microsoft. Ah, it's escaping me. You know, the head of Microsoft. What's his name?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Exactly. I was going to say Bill Wright. Bill Wright was an old captain. Bill Gates.
He's doing the videos out there.
Yeah. So Bill Gates, think of his brain. And if you guys have not watched his documentary on his life on Netflix, please watch it. It's very interesting. You'll be very interesting at cocktail parties. Is that Bill Gates, he has the machine. The machine is so smart, but he was incredibly antisocial as a kid. So his mother was kind of like a politician, and she would drag him to every single social event that she attended and put him in the front and make him do things that were so uncomfortable. That's how he got to where he was, because his mom forced him into social situations, and his brain, with the two of those, boom. But you guys already have the social up here, and you have the machine learning to get you here. So you're like, it's a great point, Christian. I believe like Coursera, so they have a couple different arms. They have for individuals, for businesses, for universities, for government. So most of, like, let's say that you, and let's look at their about page really quick. They partner with leading universities to bring flexible, affordable, job-relevant online learning. And then I just want to see, they have an impact report. They have their story about what's on there. And I believe that their business model is that they get the content from the universities, And then if you are a business and you want to get into, so like for example, Royal Caribbean has Cornell. Royal Caribbean has to pay to use Cornell.
Yeah.
Royal Caribbean is never going to be at a place where they can develop their own content. So they are most likely making money. I just want to check. They're most likely making money off of these larger organizations that are, and let me just look, these larger organizations that are buying into their platform. So you guys, we're right about at our hour, so I'll just go ahead and I'll make sure that in the email you guys will see we do a weekly webinar. So in our email that we send this week, we'll point you to the recording of this. Please share it within your network. We'll point it you to our blog post, and then we'll give you the resources to some of the things that we talked about in here. And the most important thing for us is that when this, well, hopefully this week, one of our big contracts will get signed, is that make sure that on our website, your online profile is up to date. Make sure that you've reviewed your CV and your resume and all your experiences on there, because that's really important for us when we are posting jobs and connecting you to jobs. If we're looking for somebody that has retail experience and you don't want retail anywhere in the word of your resume, or you have like, it's cryptic what your actual job was, it's going to be hard for us to match you. So just make sure that you're looking at your CV, you're updating it, you're updating your profile, and then every time we have a new job posting, we'll send it out to you guys. But thank you for joining us and supporting what we're doing. Christian, anything additional? You look like you're telling a joke.
No. It was very valuable. Truly appreciate it. It was very fun and dynamic. So thank you, Orville.
Okay. All right, you guys. I appreciate you guys and have an amazing week.